The quiet human, the space station called Orion 7, floated in the darkness between three solar systems. It was huge, bigger than most cities on Earth, and inside its metal walls, the Galactic Federation ran the most famous combat school in the known universe. Students came from every corner of the galaxy. Valkyrie warriors stood 8 feet tall with skin like stone armor. Narration hunters moved on 4 legs with claws that could cut through steel. And then there were the Draken. They were the apex predators, the top of the food chain. They had scales harder than metal, fangs longer than human fingers, and strength that could crush bones like paper. No Draken had ever lost a combat trial in 300 years. They were proud of this fact. Very proud. Among all these powerful aliens, there was one human girl named Yuna. She was 22 years old. She came from a small village in the mountains of Korea on Earth. She was short. Very short. Most aliens looked down at her like she was a child. Her hair was black and always tied back in a simple ponytail. Her eyes were dark and usually looking at the ground. When she spoke, her voice was so soft that people often asked her to say things again. Yuna walked through the hallways of the academy every day with her head down. She tried not to bump into anyone. She tried not to make anyone angry. She tried to be invisible. It did not work. The other students noticed her. Of course they did. She was human. Humans were new to the galaxy. They had only joined the Federation 50 years ago. Most aliens thought humans were weak, soft, primitive. They had no claws, no armor, no natural weapons. How did such a species even survive on their own planet? The whispers followed Yuna everywhere she went. Look at the human. She is so small. I heard she got in through the diversity program, not through real skill. She flinches when doors close too loud. How is she in combat class? Yuna heard all of it. She pretended she did not. She kept walking. She kept her head down. She went to her classes and sat in the back corner. She took notes quietly. She never raised her hand. She never asked questions. She never talked to anyone unless she had to. There was one other human in her combat track. His name was Do-won. He was tall for a human, strong. He had broad shoulders and big arms. He walked with confidence. He spoke loudly. He laughed with the alien students and trained hard every day. He had earned some respect through pure strength and determination. Do-won did not like Yuna. One evening, he found her in the hallway after class. He stood in front of her so she could not pass. His arms were crossed over his chest. "You need to stop," he said. Yuna looked up at him. Her eyes were confused. "Stop what?" "Stop being so weak. Stop being so quiet. Stop making all humans look bad." His voice was harsh. "Every time you flinch, every time you look at the ground, every time you whisper like a scared mouse, they see it. And they think all humans are like you." Yuna did not say anything. She just stood there, looking at his chest because she could not meet his eyes. "I worked hard to get respect here," Do-won continued. "I trained for years. I bled for this. And you are ruining it. Either speak up and fight back or transfer to a different program. Go join the medical track or the engineering track. Combat is not for people like you." He walked away without waiting for her answer. Yuna stood alone in the hallway for a long time. Her hands were shaking a little. She took a deep breath. Then another. Then she walked back to her small room in the student dormitory. Her room was tiny. Just a bed, a desk, and a small window that looked out at the stars. She did not have many things. Some clothes. Some books. A small photograph of an old woman with white hair and kind eyes. Her grandmother. Yuna looked at the photograph for a long time. Then she changed into her training clothes. She pushed her small desk against the wall to make space. And she began to practice. She practiced forms, fighting movements that looked like a slow dance. Her arms moved through the air. Her feet stepped in careful patterns. Her body turned and twisted without sound. She practiced for hours, until her muscles burned, until her knuckles were red and sore, until sweat dripped down her face. This was her secret. Every night, alone in her room, Yuna trained. She had been training since she was 6 years old. Her grandmother had taught her. Her grandmother had been a soldier once, a special kind of soldier. She knew fighting techniques that had no name, techniques that were passed down through generations, techniques that were meant to end fights quickly and completely. Never show your full strength, her grandmother had told her many times. The world is dangerous for those who stand out. Move like water. Be soft until you must be hard. And never fight unless there is no other choice. Yuna had followed this teaching her whole life. In school, she let others win. In arguments, she stayed quiet. When people pushed her, she stepped back. She made herself small. She made herself invisible. It was safer that way. But sometimes, late at night, when she was alone and no one could see, she wondered what it would feel like to stop hiding, to stand up straight, to look someone in the eyes and show them what she really was. Then she would push that thought away. It was dangerous. It was not what her grandmother had taught her. It was not the right path. So she kept her head down. She kept her voice soft. She kept her true self locked away where no one could find it. The next morning, Yuna woke up early. She washed her face. She tied her hair back. She put on her academy uniform. And she walked to class with her eyes on the ground, just like always. She did not know that today would be different. She did not know that today she would meet the person who would change everything. His name was Instructor Vorath. He was a Draken, and he was about to make her life very, very difficult. The Tormentor Instructor Vorath was the most feared teacher in the entire academy. He was a Draken, and even among his own kind, he was considered dangerous. He stood 8 feet tall. His scales were dark green, almost black, and they covered his entire body like armor. His eyes were yellow with thin black lines in the middle, like a snake. His fangs were so long that they stuck out even when his mouth was closed. When he walked, the floor shook a little under his weight. Vorath had killed 17 opponents in official duels. This was legal in the Federation. Combat instructors were allowed to accept challenges, and Vorath never said no. He enjoyed fighting. He enjoyed winning. He enjoyed watching his enemies fall. He also enjoyed finding weak students and breaking them. On Yuna's first day in his advanced combat class, Vorath looked at all the students standing in rows. His yellow eyes moved slowly from face to face. When he saw Yuna, he stopped. His lips pulled back to show his fangs. It was supposed to be a smile. "A human female," he said. His voice was deep and rough, like rocks grinding together. How interesting. From that moment, Yuna became his favorite target. Every class, Vorath found new ways to make her suffer. When students practiced basic forms, he would walk behind Yuna and kick her feet to make her fall. When students sparred with partners, he would pair her with the biggest aliens in the class. When students demonstrated techniques, he would call her to the front and criticize everything she did. "Your stance is wrong. Your arms are weak. Your speed is pathetic." He would say these things loudly so everyone could hear. "This is what Earth sends us. A trembling little mouse?" The other students would laugh. Some laughed because they thought it was funny. Others laughed because they were scared of Vorath and did not want to become his next target. Yuna never fought back. She never argued. She would just bow her head and say, "Yes, instructor. I will try harder." This made Vorath angry. He wanted to see her cry. He wanted to see her break, but she just kept coming back, day after day, with her head down and her voice soft. One day, Volrath decided to push harder. "Human female," he called out during class. "Come to the center now." Yuna walked to the middle of the training floor. She kept her eyes down. Her hands were at her sides. She waited. "I want to show the class something," Volrath announced. He began to circle around her like a predator circling prey. "I want to show them what happens when a weak species tries to pretend they belong with real warriors." He moved fast, faster than most eyes could follow. His clawed hand swung toward Yuna's head. She ducked. Just barely. His claws passed over her hair, close enough to feel the wind. Volrath's eyes widened for just a moment. Then he attacked again. A kick this time, aimed at her stomach. Yuna stepped to the side. The kick missed. Volrath was not smiling anymore. He attacked again and again. Punches, kicks, grabs, sweeps. Each attack was fast and powerful enough to seriously hurt her. Yuna avoided all of them. She did not fight back. She just moved. Her body flowed like water around each attack. She was always exactly where his strikes were not, but she never hit him. She never even tried. After 30 seconds, Volrath stopped. He was breathing a little harder than before. This had never happened to him with a student. "Luck," he growled. "Just luck." He turned away from her and continued to class like nothing had happened. But Yuna could feel his eyes on her for the rest of the day. He was watching. He was thinking. He was planning. After class, Yuna walked to the dining hall alone. She got a small bowl of rice and some vegetables. She sat at an empty table in the corner and ate quietly. A shadow fell over her table. Yuna looked up and saw a human woman standing there with a tray of food. "Can I sit here?" the woman asked. She had a kind face and warm eyes. "I'm Mireille. I'm in the medical track. I've seen you around." Yuna nodded slowly. Mireille sat down across from her. "I saw what happened in class today," Mireille said. "With Instructor Volrath. That was not right. What he does to you is not training. It is bullying, cruelty. You should report him." Yuna shook her head. "It's fine. I'm used to it." "Used to it?" Mireille's eyes were worried. "Yuna, no one should be used to being treated like that. The Federation has rules. Teachers cannot abuse students. He has not hurt me. Not physically. But there are other kinds of hurt." Mireille leaned forward. "Why do you let him do this? I saw you dodge his attacks. You are fast. Really fast. Why don't you fight back?" Yuna was quiet for a long moment. She looked down at her food. "My grandmother taught me that fighting should be the last choice. The very last. If you can avoid conflict, you should. If you can walk away, you should. Violence creates more violence. It never really solves anything. But sometimes you have to stand up for yourself, maybe." Yuna's voice was barely a whisper. "But not yet. I can still endure. I can still walk away." Mireille did not understand. She could see that Yuna was hiding something. There was something behind those quiet eyes. Something strong. But Yuna was not ready to show it. "Well," Mireille said softly, "if you ever need a friend, I am here. You do not have to be alone." For the first time in a long time, Yuna smiled. It was a small smile. Barely there, but it was real. "Thank you," she said. They finished their meal together in comfortable silence. Outside the window, stars sparkled in the endless darkness of space. And somewhere in the academy, Volrath was making plans. He had seen something today. Something that surprised him. The little human was faster than she looked. She was hiding something. And he was going to find out what it was. He was going to break her, no matter what it took. He just did not know that some things cannot be broken. Some things can only be awakened. The breaking point, 3 months passed. The semester was almost over, and the final evaluation was coming. The final evaluation was a big event. All combat students had to demonstrate their skills in front of important people. Federation officials came to watch. Military recruiters came to find talented students. Rich families came to hire bodyguards. The arena would be full of thousands of spectators. For most students, it was a chance to show their best. A chance to get good jobs and bright futures. But for Yuna, it was just another day to survive. She had continued to endure Volrath's cruelty for 3 months. Every class, he found new ways to humiliate her. He made her run extra laps. He made her hold heavy weights until her arms gave out. He told the other students she was an example of what not to be. But Yuna never broke. She never cried in front of anyone. She never complained. She just kept coming back. This made Volrath furious. He had broken many students before. Strong students. Proud students. Students from powerful families. They all eventually cried or quit or begged for mercy. But not this small human girl. She just kept looking at the ground and saying, "Yes, instructor." It was driving him crazy, so Volrath made a plan. A cruel, terrible plan. 1 week before the final evaluation, he made an announcement to the class. "This year's evaluation will have a special event," he said. His yellow eyes found Yuna in the back of the room. A demonstration of cross-species combat. One student will face an instructor in the arena. This will show everyone the gap between student level and master level. The students looked at each other nervously. No one wanted to fight an instructor, especially not Volrath. "I have already chosen the student," Volrath continued. She volunteered. Everyone looked at Yuna. Yuna's face went pale. She had not volunteered. She had never said anything. But she knew what was happening. Volrath was lying, and no one would believe her if she said so. "Human female," Volrath called out. "Stand up and confirm for the class." All eyes were on her. Yuna could feel her heart beating fast. Her hands were cold. She wanted to say no. She wanted to tell everyone that she never volunteered. But what good would it do? Volrath was the instructor. He had power. She had nothing. Slowly, Yuna stood up. She did not look at anyone. She just nodded once. "Good," Volrath said. His fangs showed in a terrible smile. "I look forward to our demonstration." After class, Yuna's friend Mireille ran to catch up with her. "You cannot do this," Mireille said. Her voice was scared. "Yuna, he's going to hurt you. Really hurt you. This is not about teaching. He wants to destroy you in front of everyone. I know. Then say no? Tell the administrators. Tell someone. Who would believe me?" Yuna's voice was tired. "He is a Draken, an apex predator, a famous instructor. I am just a human girl who does not talk. They will believe him." Mireille grabbed Yuna's hand. "Then don't fight. Refuse to enter the arena. Take a 0 on the evaluation. It is better than getting killed. He will not kill me. There are rules. Medical staff will be watching. He can still hurt you badly. Break your bones. Damage your organs. Even with medical care, you might never recover fully." Yuna was quiet. She knew Mireille was right. Volrath was going to use this chance to destroy her. Not just her body, but her spirit. He wanted everyone to see the weak little human get crushed by the apex predator. He wanted to prove that humans did not belong, but running away was not an option. If she refused to fight, she would fail the semester. She would be sent back to Earth in shame. Everything she had worked for would be gone, and something else was growing inside her. Something she had pushed down for a very long time. A small hot flame in her chest. It felt like anger. Or maybe it was something deeper. Something her grandmother had warned her about. The most dangerous people are not the ones who fight, her grandmother had said once. They are the ones who have been pushed too far. The ones who have nothing left to lose. That night, Yuna did not sleep. She sat by her window and looked at the stars. She thought about her grandmother. She thought about her village. She thought about all the times she had run away from conflict. All the time she had made herself small. Was it really strength to always avoid fighting? Or was it just fear? Her grandmother had taught her to be like water, soft, flowing, peaceful. But water could also be a flood that destroyed cities. Water could be a wave that crushed ships. Water was not weak. It was patient. It was waiting. Maybe it was time to stop waiting. The day of the final evaluation came. The arena was full of spectators. Thousands of aliens from dozens of species filled the seats. Federation officials sat in special boxes high above the floor. Cameras recorded everything for broadcast across the galaxy. The regular demonstrations went first. Students showed their forms. They sparred with partners. Some did well. Some made mistakes. The crowd clapped politely. Then it was time for the special event. Ladies and gentlemen, the announcer said, we have a unique demonstration today. A combat match between Instructor Volrath of the Draken Empire and student Yuna of Earth. Whispers spread through the crowd. A Draken against a human? This was going to be a slaughter. Volrath walked into the arena first. He was huge. His scales gleamed under the lights. He raised his arms, and the crowd roared for him. He was a celebrity, a champion, a predator. Then Yuna walked in. She looked so small, so fragile. She walked to her position and stood with her hands at her sides. Her eyes were down. She looked like she was already defeated. The crowd felt sorry for her. Some even felt angry. This was not a fair match. This was cruelty. Volrath looked at Yuna. His yellow eyes were full of hunger. Are you ready, little mouse? Yuna did not answer. She just stood there, breathing slowly. No protective gear, Volrath announced loudly. No weapons. Pure combat, as the ancient ways demand. The referee looked uncomfortable. Are both fighters ready? Volrath nodded, still smiling. Yuna lifted her head. For the first time, she looked directly at Volrath. Her dark eyes met his yellow ones. Something changed in that moment. The air in the arena grew heavy. The whispers stopped. Even Volrath's smile faded just a little. Yes, Yuna said. Her voice was quiet, but somehow everyone heard it. I am ready. The referee raised his hand. Begin. The silence before the arena was completely silent. Thousands of spectators held their breath. The referee had said, begin, but neither fighter had moved. Volrath stood on one side, 8 feet of muscle and scales and killing power. His claws were out. His fangs were showing. His yellow eyes were locked on the small human girl standing 20 feet away. Yuna stood perfectly still. Her arms were loose at her sides. Her feet were shoulder-width apart. Her eyes, for the first time anyone could remember, were not looking at the ground. They were looking directly at her opponent. Well, Volrath growled. Are you going to fight? Or are you going to stand there like the scared little animal you are? Yuna did not answer. She did not move. She just watched him with those dark, quiet eyes. Volrath's smile grew wider. Fine, I will come to you. He moved. A dragon at full speed was one of the most terrifying things in the galaxy. Volrath crossed the 20 feet between them in less than a second. His right claw swept toward Yuna's head with enough force to tear through metal. But Yuna was not there. She had moved at the exact same moment he did. Not backward, like prey running away. Forward. She stepped inside his reach, past his claws, and came out behind him. Volrath spun around. His eyes were wide. What? He attacked again. A kick aimed at her chest. Yuna bent backward like a reed in the wind. The kick passed over her face, so close she could feel the air move. Then she straightened and stepped to the side. Volrath roared. He threw punch after punch, kick after kick. His attacks were fast, powerful. Any one of them could break bones, kill a normal person. He had used these same attacks to defeat Volcari warriors, Nareshi hunters, and even other Draken. None of them touched Yuna. She flowed around each strike like water flowing around rocks. She did not block. She did not duck wildly. She simply was not in the place his attacks landed. Every movement was small, efficient, perfect. The crowd could not believe what they were seeing. Whispers started, then murmurs, then gasps. In the VIP box, a Federation admiral leaned forward in his seat. What am I watching? He asked no one in particular. I don't know, sir, his aide replied. I have never seen anything like this. On the arena floor, Volrath was getting angrier, and he was getting tired. He had been attacking for over a minute without landing a single hit. This had never happened to him before. He was an apex predator, the top of the food chain, and this tiny human girl was making him look like a fool. Stand still, he roared. Yuna still did not speak. She just kept moving, turning, flowing, avoiding Dot in the stands. Dalhan was on his feet. His mouth was hanging open. He had told Yuna to transfer out. He had called her weak. He had said she was making humans look bad. Now he was watching her do something impossible. How? He whispered. How is she doing this? Beside him, Myre had tears in her eyes. But they were not tears of fear. They were tears of wonder. I knew it, she said softly. I knew she was hiding something. Taiho, a human engineer who had always been kind to Yuna, was recording everything on his device. This is going to change everything, he said. The whole galaxy is going to see this. 2 minutes had passed. Volrath had thrown over 50 attacks. None had landed. His breathing was heavy now. His scales were wet with sweat. His arms were starting to feel slow. The crowd had gone from silent to amazed. Some were standing. Some were cheering for the small human girl. Even aliens who had looked down on humans were now watching with new eyes. But Yuna had not attacked once. Not a single punch. Not a single kick. She had only avoided. Some people wondered if this was all she could do. Maybe she was fast but had no power. Maybe she was just running away in a fancy way. Then Volrath made a mistake. He overreached on a punch. His balance shifted too far forward. For a moment, his chest was open. Unprotected. Yuna could have struck him then. She was in the perfect position. Her fist was already moving. But she stopped. She pulled her hand back and stepped away. Volrath stumbled forward, confused. Why had she not hit him? She had the chance. A clear, perfect chance. Why did she not take it? What are you doing? He snarled. Fight me. Stop playing games. Yuna looked at him. Her eyes were calm. Sad, even. I don't want to hurt you, she said. Her voice was quiet but clear. Please stop. The arena went silent again. Did she really just say that? The tiny human girl asked the apex predator to stop. She said she did not want to hurt him? Volrath's face twisted with rage. He had never been so insulted in his life. A human? Did not want to hurt him? She was looking at him with pity? Pity? You arrogant little insect, he hissed. You think you can hurt me? You think you are holding back? I will show you what real power looks like. He reached down deep inside himself. Every Draken had a final level, a killing mode that they saved for real battles. It made them faster, stronger, more dangerous. Most never had to use it against students. Vorath used it now. His scales seemed to darken. His eyes glowed brighter. A low growl came from his throat that made the air vibrate. He was no longer playing. He was no longer demonstrating. He was going to destroy her. Yuna saw the change. She felt the shift in his energy. This was different. This was deadly. For a moment, she thought about running, about giving up, about letting him win so she could walk away with her life. Then she thought about her grandmother, about all the years of training, about all the times she had made herself small so others would not notice her, about all the pain she had swallowed in silence. No more. If he was going to stop holding back, then so was she. Yuna closed her eyes. She took one deep breath. When she opened her eyes again, something was different. The air around her seemed to grow heavy, still, like the moment before lightning strikes. She stopped moving. She stood in the center of the arena, perfectly still, and waited. Vorath laughed. It was an ugly, cruel sound. Finally given up? Smart. Now stay still while I break every bone in your body. He charged. All of his speed. All of his power. All of his killing intent. He was a missile of scales and claws and fangs, aimed directly at the small human girl who stood waiting for him. The crowd screamed. Some covered their eyes. They could not watch. Mireille grabbed the railing in front of her. Yuna! But Yuna did not move. She stood perfectly still, her eyes open, watching the apex predator race toward her. At the last moment, just before his claws reached her face, she moved. One step. Just one step forward. Into the attack, not away from it. And then she struck. One strike, what happened next, lasted less than 1 second. But people would talk about it for years. They would slow down the recordings to 1,000th of normal speed. They would write papers about it. They would teach it in combat schools across the galaxy. And still, no one would fully understand it. Yuna stepped forward into Vorath's charge. Her body turned. The movement started from her feet, planted firmly on the ground. It flowed up through her legs, through her hips, through her spine. Her shoulder rotated. Her arm extended. Her fist moved forward. One punch. That was all. She hit Vorath in the center of his chest. The sound was strange. Not like a normal punch hitting a body. It was deeper. Like a drum being struck far away. Like thunder rolling across mountains. The floor of the arena vibrated with it. People in the front rows felt it in their bones. Vorath stopped. He was still standing. His arm was still raised to strike. His claws were still extended, but his eyes had gone wide. His mouth had opened. No sound came out. Then he fell. The 8-foot Draken warrior collapsed like a puppet with its strings cut. He hit the floor and did not move. Did not twitch. Did not breathe for one terrifying second. The arena was silent. Completely, absolutely silent. Yuna stood over him, her fist still extended. Her breathing was calm. Her face showed no anger, no joy, no pride. Just a quiet sadness. Medical staff rushed onto the floor. They surrounded Vorath with scanners and equipment. One of them looked at the readings, and his face went pale. He's alive, the medic announced. But every major nerve cluster in his body has been disrupted. He's completely unconscious. We need to get him to medical bay immediately. They loaded Vorath onto a floating stretcher and carried him out. His body looked small somehow. Defeated. The apex predator, who had never lost, was being carried away like a broken toy. Yuna watched him go. Then she began to walk toward the exit. But before she could leave, a sound started. It was quiet at first. Just one person clapping. It was Dohan. He stood in the stands, his hands coming together slowly. His face was shocked, humbled. He had treated Yuna badly. He had told her she was weak. And now he had watched her do the impossible. Myra stood up next to him. She started clapping too. Tears were running down her face. Then Taiho joined. Then another human. Then a Valkyrie student who had never spoken to Yuna before. Then more. And more. Within seconds, the entire arena was on its feet. The applause was like thunder. It shook the walls. It echoed through the hallways. Aliens of every species were cheering for the small human girl, who had defeated the apex predator with one strike. Yuna stopped walking. She looked around at the thousands of faces staring at her. She did not know what to do. She had never wanted attention. She had never wanted to be seen, but something had changed. She could feel it. The way people looked at her was different now. There was no pity in their eyes. No mockery. There was respect, wonder, even a little fear. She bowed once, a small and humble bow, and then walked out of the arena. The next few days were strange. Everyone wanted to talk to Yuna. Reporters wanted interviews. Military recruiters wanted to offer her positions. Other students wanted to train with her. Even aliens who had never noticed her before suddenly wanted to be her friend. She turned them all down politely. "I didn't come here to be famous," she told Mireille one evening. They were sitting in Mireille's room, drinking tea. "I came here to learn, to grow, to find out who I really am. And did you find out?" Mireille asked why you, and I thought about it for a long moment. "I think so. My grandmother always taught me to be like water, soft, peaceful, avoiding conflict. And I tried to be that person for so long. I thought being strong meant never fighting. But I was wrong. Being strong doesn't mean never fighting. It means knowing when to fight and when not to. My grandmother didn't teach me to be weak. She taught me to be patient, to wait for the right moment. And when that moment comes, to act without hesitation." She looked out the window at the stars. "I spent my whole life making myself small, hiding, running. I thought that was wisdom. But it was fear. I was afraid of what would happen if people saw the real me. And now? Now I'm not afraid anymore." Yuna smiled softly. "I don't want to hurt anyone. I still believe that peace is better than violence. But I won't let fear control me anymore. If I need to stand up, I will stand up. If I need to fight, I will fight. And I will not apologize for being who I am." Mireille reached out and took Yuna's hand. "I'm proud of you. Thank you for being my friend. For believing in me when I didn't believe in myself." They sat together in comfortable silence as the stars turned slowly outside the window. In the months that followed, Yuna finished her training. She graduated with honors. Many people offered her jobs and positions, but she chose a quiet path. She became a teacher at a small combat school on a peaceful planet. She taught young students, human and alien, the same things her grandmother had taught her. "True strength is not about winning fights," she would tell them. "True strength is about protecting what matters, about standing up when others cannot, about being gentle when you can and fierce when you must." Her students loved her, not because she was famous, but because she was kind, patient, understanding. She never raised her voice. She never lost her temper. She treated every student with respect, no matter how weak or scared they were, because she remembered what it felt like to be weak and scared. And she knew that inside every quiet person, there was a storm waiting to be born. As for Volrath, he recovered after several weeks in medical care. He never spoke about what happened. He never returned to teaching. Some said he had gone back to the Draken homeworld. Others said he had become a hermit on a distant moon. No one knew for sure, and no one asked. But sometimes, late at night, he would think about the small human girl who had defeated him. and he would feel something he had never felt before. Respect. She had shown him that size and strength and scales did not make someone powerful. True power came from somewhere else. Somewhere deeper. Somewhere that had no name. The galaxy was full of apex predators. Creatures with claws and fangs and armor. Creatures who had never lost. But now they knew. Now everyone knew. Humans were not prey. They were not weak. They were something far more dangerous. A species that had learned to hide its strength. To wait. To endure. To let others underestimate them. And when the moment came, when they had no choice but to fight, they struck with the force of all that patience. All that waiting. All that silent strength. One strike was all it took. One strike to shake the galaxy. One strike to change everything. And it came from the quietest girl in the room.